What is going on, everyone? Happy Friday Eve. Welcome back to the Red Pill versus the Blue Pill. I am Dr. Delon Canterbury, and today we'll be talking about deprescribing. What else? But I hope y'all are doing well. I'm the founder of Geriatrics, as well as the founder of the Deprescribing Accelerator. So hope you guys are off to an amazing week. Fall is here. I'm starting to get the chills, and I love it. Love this weather. Love how things are going. And so today we're talking about how you, yes, you can get your passion back with the power of deprescribing. And there are so many ways you can approach this. But I think the core of all that we're doing in the world of deprescribing really, to me, is more than just your profession. It's a spiritual servant led just obligation. Like this is a movement. This is a spiritual movement. This is a passion, and it has to align with who you are as your clinician, as what you stand for. And there are many ways we can implement this and put this into the hands of our most vulnerable population, our seniors. So welcome back. If you haven't met me, I am a board certified geriatric pharmacist. I founded Geriatrics 2 years ago in the height of COVID, with the sole intent of putting the work of deprescribing on the forefront of how we manage care for our seniors. As we know, pretty much 80% of all treatments rely on some type of pill or medication. So if our most susceptible population isn't aware of what symptoms to look out for or what side effects or how sometimes they can be masked and hidden within this population, then I felt it was my right to address that and be the best advocate I can be, since I feel pharmacists are the caregiver's best kept secret in this world. And in starting this company, I, for the first couple of months, didn't quite know what I was doing. I just kind of put myself out there and started talking about the problem of overprescribing, overmedicating, telling about my personal story with my family. My grandmother Mildred was prescribed ziprasidone while she was in a nursing home, and that basically plummeted all of her dementia symptoms, and it looked like she was sundowning. And this was prescribed by the nursing home, right? So, this company was founded on really the principle of why so many people in these care settings are falling victim to harmful medication use. And that lit a fire in me and got me into the world of geriatric care, seeing how much my parents were struggling as a caregiver. Hey, Breck, appreciate you coming out on. How you doing, man? Just saying what's up to you. Hey, Dementia Guru, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you joining in live. But I was talking about, my grandma and how really she was the impetus behind me founding geriatrics. And again, we shouldn't let the age of the voiceless remain voiceless. And so we have caregivers, we have caregiver advocates, senior care advocates, patient access navigators, who I feel are not getting enough attention. And I think the pharmacists, the people who have a passion for stopping harmful med use, can be well equipped to get your passion back, because I damn sure lost my passion for the field long before I even got into my career as a pharmacy manager. So needless to say, I'm tired of medications being the cause of harm. And so I decided to create Geriatrics to provide this personalized concierge approach to how we address medications, and really to how we can possibly make this the standard of care. Like, question mark, like, why is this even so hard to, anyway, but that's what I did. So I decided to create this package basically to have a pharmacist on call, a pharmacist on retainer in the beginning of my business. And well, I learned so much. We got one of our first patient cases, 70-year-old African-American female on 36 medications who was on the verge of being involuntarily committed into a nursing home. And if it wasn't for our work in developing a deprescribing action plan for this patient, he likely would have been at nursing home today. So we were able to get the involuntary forced committal dropped by our jury of her peers because we were to prove that it was the meds that were causing the harm, right? 36 meds isn't exactly the best way to live. The golden age is out. So we got that down to 8. We helped the family get their loved ones back, and she's doing well. Hey, Heidi. Appreciate you tuning in live as well. Looks like Heidi made a comment. You would think the concept of deprescribing would have caught on by now. I know, right? Sadly, we're up against the hugely influential pharma giants. Oh, yeah, that spend every day educating prescribers that a pill cures everything. Man, tell me about it. I am quite tired of that. Pharmacists must become part of the care team so we can rid patients of all these meds that interact and cause more problems. Yo, I am so with you. It's true. It's sadly there's a prioritization of profit over our basic human health rights, and I think there can be a relationship between the two. I think you can ethically treat people with high quality care and still make some money doing so. But Heidi, I'm with you, man. But unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast here. And so we are a bit behind in how we address and educate our community on how they can stop some of these harmful meds, and how some of them, again, they have timelines. You don't have to be just on this same prescription for the rest of your life. Usually, most of the time, you don't have to do that. A couple of years, sure, to get you down the track, but you can change a lot of this with food, nutrition, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness. There's so many other approaches, right? So I want to share today more so how I got my passion back. And it comes back to that patient who was sadly on 36 meds. This was my first client. And not only do we do this med review with the patient and found some of the root causes of her symptoms, which was multiple drugs contributing to anticholinergic toxicity. But I would say the biggest win here was serving as a medical expert in court. Like, I had no idea I would be hired to be basically cross-examined by these vicious lawyers who were trying to poke holes in my medication action plan and basically demean my credentials as a doctorate of pharmacy to try to argue against to argue for putting her in the nursing home so the family can seize her assets, seize her home, and she was wealthy. So that was the dark side of this story, was she was a wealthy woman, and half the family wanted her gone so they can keep her stuff. And basically one who hired me was the one who fought to keep her aging gracefully at home. So with our medication review, with our deprescribing action plan, we were able to present that to the court of law. We served as a medical expert. And if it wasn't for the testimony of Dr. DeLon Canterbury, I don't know if that woman would still be here today. And so thankfully, the court dropped the case. We won the case. And the best part of the story is I actually went to the doctor's office with this patient and her caregiver, and we were able to actually able to go through the deprescribing action plan together and come to a consensus of all the changes we wanted to make to our patient's meds. So from that intervention, right, this is like my very first patient. from that intervention, we were able to deprescribe her from 36 meds down to 8 prescriptions, which is such a huge win, right? That's such a big deal. So that was where I had my calling. That was like my spirit saying, yo, DeLon, this is going to be you for the rest of your life. You need to advocate for our vulnerable. And frankly, that was like so, that was just so, yeah, that was just so exponentially gratifying in my calling and taking on this charge and serving in alignment with my purpose after seeing years and years and being complicit to years and years of just peddling pills to people and being a part of the problem and counting by fives, serving people heavy narcotics that aren't even getting adequate pain relief, seeing 12-year-olds finding oxycodons in school. After a while, it does eat away with you, and you really wonder if we're helping with our current health system or if we're just a part of the problem. And so I was tired of being morally, I felt corrupted. And so I stepped away from Walgreens as a pharmacy manager and stepped down and started to do geriatrics, started to talk about the problems, started talking about overprescribing, talk about my grandma. And with that one case we had within our 3-4 months of business, the doors just opened up. Okay, like I ended up having patients who had chronic kidney disease. I'm able to help them with potentially considering Medicare plans because they had a disability, helping them get on Medicaid, helping them with shared savings programs, helping them with food support and nutrition, talking about social barriers, talking about ways we can reduce costs. I mean, you get the full concierge thing here because we're addressing more than just the patient's med list. We're talking about everything. We're talking about transportation, food insecurity, all during COVID, mind you. So you start realizing that it's way more than our degrees. It's so much more than a PharmD. It's so much more than your MD or PA or NP, whatever. It's so much more than that. It's again, to enact behavioral change starts with empathy and trust and some education. And sometimes we can't do that in the 20-minute meeting we have at the medical office with our patients. You have so many competing priorities. You have other things to look for. It's just not on top of the list. So I want to help prescribers so we can do this together. You know, like we don't have a system that has pharmacists put before we prescribe. Very few states even allow like clinical pharmacist practitioners who have to do all these hoops and protocols and collaborative practice agreements just to do what we already know what to do under someone else's supervision. So these laws are outdated as hell, and they confine the true value that pharmacists have to offer. And so I say, screw that. I'm doing what the hell I want. And I create this company to do that for my patients. And I love my life. I love what I do. And yeah, I agree. I think food is medicine, Heidi. Appreciate you putting that in. Food and movement. To quote one of our Deprescribing Accelerator alumni, Dr. Judy Waldman, who's a health coach, she loves to say movement is medicine. And so I'm stealing that from her, as she is a health coach and also specialist in who's worked in the aging field about 20, 30 years in an LTC pharmacy and long-term care pharmacy. So I completely agree. We got to do better. And I don't think we do better. And we don't use pharmacists at the top of this potential. And well, in me taking this leap of complete fear of not knowing what I'm doing, I started going back to the basics of what drove me to this profession. And for me, it was knowing I can try to help heal people with a little bit of education, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of drug knowledge, and giving people hope. And where a lot of my success came from was because I'm reaching communities that look like me. I'm reaching communities that look like me and care about what I have to say because they trust me. And if you don't even trust your provider with your most intimate issues, do you really think we're addressing the root cause to some of those issues in our care and spiritually, biopsychosocial? Are we hitting those tenets? We're not. We're trying to pretend like we do with metrics and with these qualifiers and risk mitigation, but these are fancy terms, and we're not bridging the gap between clinician and patient with that consistent trust. And I would say COVID shed the biggest light to that gap because the disparities worsened. And if you're able to reach those communities in that time, then you're not only well equipped to enact change in other facets of their health, but you can have a substantial impact. You can be a resource. So deprescribing has it's been around, like geriatricians talk about this, like how I drink water, and they know that it's kind of their core focus of care. But when you start talking about some of the specialists who are only worried about the kidneys, or I'm only worried about the lungs, or I'm only worried about the heart, and then there's competing priorities, and even the guidelines don't even adequately address this dearth of senior-based guided type of recommendations, then there's gonna be some conflict. And in fact, there's always conflict. And that's why we have so many polypharmacy cases being admitted to the ER. It's why we have so many prescribing cascades. We don't have centralization to see all the patient claims and data. So we're just going on faith that the patient tells us all that they're actually taking, and hope to God there isn't an interaction at some other pharmacy or other health system that we just could not catch within our own medical record system, right? So in doing this, trust me, it ain't like people just hear about personal pharmacists on retainer as a business model, but it's mine. It's what I've been doing, and it's how I'm reaching people who otherwise may have fallen through the cracks of our healthcare system. And so I bring up this need for deprescribing, one, because we primarily focus way too much on just using pills, and two, we're quick to think of the easy way out. We're not talking about the root cause. We're not talking about all the other things we can actually try. And I know we got a fast pace, I need it now society. Look, I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds now. And that's why a lot of people who do these quick fads, they lose weight quick. 3 months later, 5 months, 6 months, it all comes back because we're doing it the quick way. We're not doing it the way that is going to sustainably help you in the long run. And so I got my passion back. I got my passion back from that first case, that first big check. And I didn't have to count by fives. I didn't have to stand on my feet all day. I didn't have to hold my urine. I didn't have to not eat or take a lunch break until I made it home at night. I didn't have to starve myself. I didn't have to demean myself for pointless metrics. I didn't have to drive a team of technicians to literally hit quotas that didn't mean a damn thing to the patient or to us. I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel rushed to get to the next patient. I didn't fall victim to this fee-for-service model that fuels our healthcare industry, trillion-dollar industry. And I want that for you. I want that for all of you. I want you to understand that, like, all of you have this ability. There's a whole legion of concierge physicians that do this. There's a whole legion of concierge nurses that do this. And all because we didn't learn it in school doesn't mean you can't learn it now. I'm not even sure what the hell school did. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't learn deprescribing in school at UNC Pharmacy, Eshelman School, the #1 pharmacy school, or at that time was in the country. I didn't learn about deprescribing there. I barely learned about it with my board certified geriatric credential. I had to learn about it researching and then having patients to apply the research and methods to. So I created a system to help you do the same thing. I promise you. Like, I'm not telling people to invest in some fancy software or clinical decision tool. I'm literally telling you to spend some time and find the passion that got you here in the first place. I want you out of your day-to-day normal business as usual. I got to see my 20 patients before I get home, or give these 50 COVID shots and flu shots, when you know damn well you did not get a PharmD or NP just to give shots all day and get yelled at because their prescriptions aren't ready. What's going on, Breck? Breck made a comment. Health hubs in the pharmacy under the direction of a PharmD with pharmacogenomics testing. I love that. To help identify the meds that do work. Deprescribe all meds that are not working. Hell yeah. And they use alternative medicine or measures, like sometimes nutrition, bioelectric, electromagnetic energy therapies. Yeah, there's Reiki healing. There's acupuncture, which I don't know if y'all noticed, but acupuncture is covered by Medicare. Now, it's for a couple sessions, but if CMS, Medicare, pays for acupuncture, which is a non-Western approach, clearly there's enough evidence that there are other ways we can approach care. If Medicare pays for acupuncture, you don't see a future where they may cover other things? They will. And they're starting to. And this is why I'm so excited for the world of integrative medicine, which employs these different approaches, but still use rigorous evidence-based approaches, again, to help our patients meet some of those healthcare goals. So yeah, I want to deprescribe as many meds as possible, but more importantly, I want to teach you that you can do it too and monetize it, especially our prescribers, especially nurse practitioners and PAs who will likely be taking over medicine as more and more and more of our MDs and DOs are getting the hell out, especially within our aging population. And frankly, that's where our health systems are going, because they know that they are cheaper. And I'm not saying I'm justifying this decision or downgrading the value of an MP or PA, but the health systems are going this way and they're seeing that they're losing money. So if we have more people who, again, aren't trained on deprescribing or how to reduce harm or how to reduce falls or how to reduce potential drug interactions or how to stop prescribing case before we start writing that pencil on the pad and saying, here's your 90-day supply, then we're going to have more seniors dying. We're going to have more seniors dying. It's going to be coded as some other issue. And we're going to, again, repeat the history that is continuing to worsen in this country. So we need pharmacists. We need people passionate for this. We need deprescribing advocates. I envision a future where we're going to have pharmacy technicians and nurses and medical assistants who are literally trained to deprescribe. And they're going to be able to do med reviews and audits and work with higher level, mid-level providers. And they're going to be able to offset this burden and catch potential false risks and catch potential Beers list medications and use stop-start criteria in clinical practice, not just for one-offs, like as the norm. And I'm going to make sure that happens. I'm going to make sure that it happens in all of these nursing homes, in all of these areas and agency offices, in all these coalition on aging, and all these accrediting bodies, and all these home health industries. The senior care industry makes billions of dollars, and I don't see a lick of any pharmacist or even anyone remotely talking about stopping harmful medicines in this population. So yeah, I'm building an army. I'm building an army of deprescribers. I'm already building it. It's here. It's growing. And each cohort, we're growing them with our deprescribing accelerator. Again, intended for clinicians who have a passion for this, who want to get their passion back in healthcare and want to do ethically what's right and then get paid doing what's ethically right. Because we got to eat too. You know, we've sacrificed a lot to get here. I want to highlight I want to highlight something a personal friend of mine told me lately this week as I was getting my COVID booster shot at this local pharmacy I support. And he's a really good friend of mine, close. He's also a pharmacist as well. He's been there with me. We've done tons of community projects together. He's actually a mentor in a way. But his father-in-law almost died. His father-in-law almost died about late July. And he's a personal friend of mine, but the patient was basically just having the worst headache of his life. Okay, he was having the worst headache in his life, like right in the back of the middle of his head. This is about maybe a 70-year-old Black male. And he went to a pretty big name hospital nearby, and upon describing his symptoms, essentially he just said, I've verbatim the worst headache ever, right? Now, clinically, okay, let's get back to basics. Clinically, if any patient ever says, I have the worst headache in my life ever, something needs to be ruled out. There needs to be a diagnostic. That's like red flag 101. And I am not a medical doctor. I don't know diagnoses, but I know drugs. But if I hear that, you got to rule something out, right? You got to do something. That's like enough to say, all right, we got to check some stuff. This health system decided that it was sinusitis. I don't think they even did a culture. They just said, sinusitis, it's flu season. It may as well be that. Whatever, it was late July, so probably not quite flu season, but they didn't even rule out like COVID. It was just, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you a 10-week course of antibiotics. And here's the kicker. We're going to give you a Toradol injection, which is an NSAID or ketorolac, to help with your pain. His pain did not go away. After 2 days, the family members started noticing his cognition was completely like off. He was like sputtering words. They would ask him questions like, what time is it? What day of the week is it? Do you know where you are? This man said it was 2018. In the year of our Lord 2022. He said it was the year 2018. They asked him what day it was. He said it was Wednesday, but it was a Thursday. He literally couldn't even walk he just couldn't walk well. So at this point, the very same pharmacist who told me this story started screening him within the pharmacy while it's a family-owned pharmacy, so he was working there, asked these very same questions. And as he asked them, he was like, no, immediately, you need to go to the ER now. And thankfully, that happened. So instead of going back to the same health system, they went to the other health system. And they immediately found this subacute hematoma in the back of this man's head pushing into his brainstem, or pushing into his brain, excuse me, I don't know. I don't know anatomy. But it was pushing into it. And had he waited 2 more days, he would have been dead. You can't make this stuff up. If that pharmacist did not ask those questions, he would have lost his own father-in-law. And y'all don't want to pay pharmacists the value that we deserve. Why do we have to fight so hard for our own family members? Why do people that look like me have to fight so hard in this broken system? Why was this man almost a statistic? And a dear friend of mine as well. For something stupid. Something that would have been caught immediately upon those key words of the worst headache in my life. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this. I'm so sick of this. And so I'm not stopping. I love this. I hate the system. Sure. It's easy to blame them. And I still do. I don't care. However, this is what patient advocacy, to me, was what brought the passion back for pharmacy. It's these stories that humble you and ground you in that, you know what? We don't know it all. We don't have all the answers. But are you going to fight to find out how we can best help our patients? And that's how I got my passion back, was this advocacy, like using my voice outside of just a product-based result, like pills or a great verification order, to literally save a family $250,000 over the course of 2 years because my testimony kept someone from being forced into an assisted living facility, which would cost anywhere between $7,000 to $11,000 a month. And I want that joy that I have for deprescribing to be the norm of all medicine. Yes, geriatrics especially, but all medicine. Hard as it is to say, it can be done. It absolutely can be done. In fact, there's no other answer, because what we're doing now clearly isn't working. It clearly isn't working. And we're actually paying the most in the world for a system that still isn't working. It still isn't working. So I am grateful that my friend used his degree, his intellect, and of course his love for advocacy to save another life, which a lot of us in this profession do every single day and don't get any credit for it or even get reimbursed for it. When a lawyer represents you and wins a huge settlement, they get a pretty significant cut of that settlement. Why aren't medical doctors and pharmacists and nurses and technicians being paid the same way, or at least with the same principle in mind? If an intervention saves a facility over $1 million because you've reduced opioids and falls in a subset of people, don't you think it's fair for that person who put in that policy and made it work and made it sustainable to get paid adequately for that intervention? Because to me, that is value-based care. Like, that is substantial value. Hard to quantify, but that's substantial value. And if you're reducing harm, you should get paid buku bucks for that. And people do that. We don't talk about it enough, but that's what some of us do. That's what I do. That's what we do. And it starts with educating. Starts with passion and educating. It starts with passion. And I want this to happen to you. I want us all to fulfill this love that brought us to the healthcare to begin with. And I'm here to show you that there is a way. There is absolutely a way. I've created the Deprescribing Accelerator literally to put everything I've learned into this program so that you have the tools, you have the know-how, you have the resources on how to do this for your patients. But more importantly, for our seniors, okay? They are the ones that will be taking over the population, about 70 mil in the next decade or so. And they consume about, or projected to consume about 30 to 40% of all prescriptions in the entire country. I'm sorry, but I see opportunity on a business side. And as a clinician, I'm scared. Not me, because I'm going to be fine. But as a general clinician, I am scared because we are not trained to treat them. We're not trained. We're not. Like, we're not. Our primary care system is not quite designed for that, but it's going to have to be. We're going to have to rely more on these systems to take care of this aging population. And I don't think they are quite prepared as a geriatrician would be to manage our seniors. And that's like the only care they're going to be seeing. So all I'm doing is shedding light to what the future is, which is now, but literally what's in the next 5 years. We don't even have homes. We don't even have beds in nursing homes for these people. So we're seeing a growing aging population becoming homeless. It's more than just the med list, guys. It's a It's a systemic public health crisis that we're pretending we care about. We're pretending to care about our vets. We're pretending to care about these seniors. And so I always highlight those who are doing the work, and I love them and I appreciate them, and we need them, especially our caregivers who are the unspoken heroes here, frankly, above all of us, who are doing this unpaid and generally dedicate on average an entire 24 hours of their lives a week taking care of a loved one with really not much support otherwise. So caregivers need deprescribing advocates. Providers need deprescribing advocates. Patients need deprescribing advocates. Insurers love deprescribing advocates because they're saving money on the front end and the back end. We need policy change. Hey, Mariko, hope you're doing well. We need politicians to start seeing that they need deprescribing advocates. We need lobbying powers that show, but I think that's not going to happen. I'm speaking in a whole nother country right now because it's not going to happen here. We don't care enough here. Everything's too political. Everything's based on who's in office. Everything's based on the season. Is it a voting year or not? Like, I don't have time for that when patients are dying. I don't have time for politics. But there is hope. It's not all doom and gloom, okay? I know I can be a bit rough around the edges, but there's a whole world of opportunity here, and I want you to have that very same joy that I have. So get your passion back. I want to know what resonated with you today, and leave your comments below. Let me know your thoughts. What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? You know, I'm always open to new perspectives and criticisms if there are any. I actually just finished up a radio show. It was in Florida. It was 100.3 Palm Beach County with the lovely Tracy Lamb. We discussed the need for deprescribing within our seniors and the opportunity that's around the corner. And unfortunately, guys, the community doesn't even know this is an option yet. You know, they just found out about genetic testing, let alone they can get off some of these pills. They don't even know that's an option. Like, they don't even know it exists. So the first step is educating, sure, and showing that there's a way out. And then there's this advocacy. And then there's just continuous follow-up and support and trust. So hope you guys found this helpful. Really appreciate you chiming in, tuning into the Red Pill versus Blue Pill. We'll be doing this every Thursday around 12 or 12:30 Eastern time. And we'll be sharing more on how you can leverage your degree to become a deprescribing advocate. You can join or consider applying for our Deprescribing Accelerator. We're going to have another cohort next year in 2023. So we are currently taking and screening applications for that. If you so choose, there's a link in my profile to apply for our Deprescribing Accelerator and get more information on how you can change your organization, your own business, or maybe if you want to be an entrepreneur and change the way things are done at your current practice. We're here to empower you to leverage deprescribing and make it the standard of care. All right. Much love. I'll see y'all next time. And let me know your thoughts. Comment below. Love to know your feedback. And appreciate everyone who tuned in. Brack, Doreen, Walitha, Daryl, thank you. Heidi, I appreciate that. Much love. Mariko, Magda, Silvana, all the way from Colombia. ¿Cómo estás? Thank you all. Thank you all for the love, and see y'all next time. Later.